Previously on The Devil on G-string.
水葉はいつでも姉さんの味方だよって。
Yuki couldn't help but crack a smile.
ちょっとそんな言葉を雪だるまに食べさせないでよ。
Their laughter diffused into the winter sky. The sun gradually sank behind the horizon, dimming the earth, but to sisters his radiance was not so easily wrested. Not the slightest hint of their coming parting was present in those dazzling winter days. Yuki feigned composure, but the anger inside her was erupting into a mighty tempest.
あなたが私の何を知っているっていうの？逆に聞くけど、春だって私に魔王のことは教えなかったじゃない？いい？誰にだって深い闇があるのよ。親にも友達にも相談できないようなストレスを抱えているの。あなただってそうでしょ？だから友達だからとかそういう甘ったるい考えはやめてもらえる？いいえ、知っているはずよ。
知らんもんは知らん。
本当の目的は母さんが持っていたあなたの裏帳簿よね。おかげで何もかも燃えちゃったわ。よかったわね。
The director shook his head frantically, obviously in a panic.
あの時は村の人も私たちに冷たかったからろくに調べもなかったわ。家がなくなったおかげで母さんの病状も悪化した。この意味がわかる？
It means whoever was responsible for that fire took years off Tokida's mother's life.
教えなさい。あなたの手のものだっていうのは分かっているのよ。
死を放てなどと命じてはいない。
そろそろ勝負を決めましょう。
Her gaze pierced through me.
浅井さんは私が正義の味方か何かと思っていらっしゃいますね。
Sure. Though to be honest, I wish you'd stop waving that annoying justice around all the time.
そんなつもりは全くないんですよ。
Is that so?
今から説明するやり口を聞いたら納得してくださると思います。
You mean I won't think you're a hero of justice anymore?
はい、むしろ下道です。できることならこんなやり方はしたくなかった。でも他に方法が思いつきません。
Man, talk about a hook. Got me interested now.
しかも賭けの要素もあります。成功したとしてもユキが抵抗を諦めるという確証がありません。我ながら情けない話ですが。
Cut the hype and spill it already.
最初からそのつもりだったのね。
娘のためだ。
よく言うわよ。
She had been careless. She looked down at her haggard attacker.
おかしいと思ったのよ。あなたは水葉の代わりになるためにここに来たのに、そんなことは一言も口にしなかった。
Now that she critically analyzes her memory of the director's entrance, she should have known this was coming. His eyes held some kind of plan, and his lips, stiff with fear, were smeared with lies.
私は水葉からあなたの悪口を聞いたことがないわ。だから油断してしまった。けれどあなたのいいところも聞いたことがない。
Mizuha was too sweet to speak up, so she likely had been sitting on her dissatisfaction for years.
面の皮の厚い男ね。まったく。
Fear.
あなたは片倉に命じて家に火を放ったのよね。
Yuki's rage dragged her mind back to the night her house burst into flames. The floor and walls licked at the young Yuki with blazing red heat. Her mother fought against time and an unconquerable illness to stand up, lift a half-asleep Yuki, and jump out the window. Yuki cried in her mother's scorched arms.
言いなさい。殺すわよ。
She She thrust a nail at the director's neck. He promptly confessed through frantic breaths.
そうだ。私の指図だ。当時金に困っていた片倉君に話を持ちかけたんだ。しかし放火までしろとは言っていない。本当だ。
The devil in Yuki's heart gorged on her wrath.
じゃあなんで火がついたんだ。
やめろ。本当だ。
She wrapped her arm around her new hostage's neck from behind, holding him as a human shield. Her left hand held a glittering, long nail. She began a slow retreat. I waved my hand, signaling the Soniyama recruits to advance. They rushed into the warehouse after Usami and Tokita. As I ducked in after the last of our raiding team entered the warehouse, I noticed a few cars in distance heading this way.
これが見えないの。近寄ったら片倉を殺すわよ。
Yuki had no time to be dumbfounded. Nevertheless, her usually talkative mouth refused to move. That's why the Yakuza had hesitated. If Kawakura's life were on the line, there would be no reason for these men to restrain themselves. They kept back because the hostage was one of their own.
俺にも家族がいるんだ。勘弁してもらえねえかな、嬢ちゃん。
Yuki's hostage, the man she thought was Kawakura, spoke to her in the thick dialect of the underworld. All Yuki could do was mindlessly stare at Haru.
人質には人質たる理由がいる。そうだろう、ユキ。
And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play The Devil on G-String. Despite looking like she's cornered, I'm suspicious. Something tells me that this isn't over, even though by all appearances we got Tokita dead to rights here. I guess we'll see in a minute if I'm right, huh? Tokita let go of the hostage and stood still for a moment, dazed. The nail she had threatened to use as a weapon fell to the ground. Shirotori squeaked at Tokita's surrender. Judging by the fact she wasn't bound in the least, Shirotori must have actually been cooperating with Tokita.
助けてくれ。
The director seemed to be alive at least.
ユキ、貴様、ただで済むと思うなよ。
I think you'd be wise to just shut your mouth. He seemed lively enough.
浅井さん、お願いです。
The rest was up to me, I guess. Usami wanted me to save Tokita.
ユキが魔王の関係者だということをここにいる人たちに知られたら。
Yeah. She would be left of Haribi, at the mercy of his horrible tortures.
すみません。
Fucking hell. Why me? Well, I'll live this down eventually. Eventually. Everyone, listen up. I face a group of villainous men. Thank you all very much for helping us out here through the night. I, Kyousuke, will never forget this favor. I'll be personally rewarding each of you later. For now, though, I think we should call it a day. I'll report this to my father immediately. Feel free to go home in the meantime. I can't afford to let any of them talk to Gonzo directly. Some of them might have overheard our conversation and learned something about Tokita and Mawu. The men, swearing here and there, slowly turned to leave. They seemed content enough after I mentioned a reward. Suddenly, the people nearest the entrance stopped in their tracks. Boisterous greetings echoed through the warehouse. A giant strode through the ranks of beasts before pouncing in front of me. Hi, Dad! Fancy seeing you here! Oh, God. And he looks disgruntled, too. I had seen cars coming when we rushed in. That was Gonzo?
うちの狼どもはいつからお前の家畜になったんだ
Father, I'm very sorry. A dull thud echoed through my skull.
立てこもりの話は聞いた時田の義理の娘が親に復讐していたようだな
He pointed at Tokita with his chin. The director suddenly raised his head.
浅井組長、よくおいでくださいました。おかげさまで大変助かりました。
The director tried to kiss a little ass.
息子さんには感謝しております。どうか今後ともよしなに。
Gonzo finally spoke without a hint of expression.
下道には下道の報いがある貴様が原因でうちの若い衆がこき使われたようだな
私ではありません。そこの女が
手当として一人につき500払え
Since I'm willing to bet there was at least 24 of them in the warehouse, at least. Oh, damn, your bank account is going to be squealing. There were 20 men here at least. That's over 100 million yen total.
そんな大金は
黙れ
The director paled. Father, the situation has been resolved. I have no excuses for my overworking of your men.
何を隠している
Pardon, sir?
知れ犬が宇佐美もいるではないか
Fuck off, Dad! She's not a mutt! She's a penguin! Did he smell her, I wonder? In any case, Gonzo was quick to suspect a connection between the situation here and Maul.
Yeah.
No point hiding it, I guess. Gah! He lifted me by the shirt.
俺は貴様に魔王を探れと命じたが貴様は全く関係のない事件に俺の私兵を投じたというのか
It's only natural for Gonzo to be
魔
angry.
王は捕まえ次第八つ咲きにする魔王の子飼いも生きたまま皮を剥いでやろう
Bad news for me later on, I guess.
これより3つ数えるその間に真実を述べねば貴様の連れも皆殺しだ
Not the penguin! Companions? Usami, Shiratori, and Tokita?
一つ
Are they really my companions? Would that make them my friends?
二つ
I'm doing. I should be obeying Gonzo. Suddenly, despite my suffocated, hazy consciousness, a vision flashed before my eyes. I saw Tsubaki protecting her brother. I watched Kanan leave without saying so much as a word. And as my sight returned, I saw Tokita, who refused to lay a hand on Shiratori. I watched her distant lips swing wide open.
やめて。京介君を話して。
She faced Gonzo and me with an utterly blank expression.
貴様か
Gonzo let go of me and walked toward Tokita.
その通り。
私は魔王を知っているわ。
お前が時田の娘だな。
ええ。父さんとお知り合いなの？
Is this the part where you point your finger at me as being the devil man? That'd be hella awkward. Gonzo responded to Tokita's question by throwing her a death glare.
魔王はどこだ？
わからないわ。
知っていることを洗いざらい話せ。
ほとんど知らないわ。本当よ。
本当かどうかは俺が決める。
Pure malice seemed to swell in Gonzo's eyes. It's all over. Gonzo isn't going to let Tokita off lightly. We didn't know each other for long, but Tokita wasn't half bad, if you ask me. I sort of got along with her. To be honest, I wish she could have stuck around a little longer. I mean, considering the lengths she went in order to exact her revenge, Tokita must have held at least a small grudge against Shiratori. Why she refused to hurt her? Probably because her love for Shiratori outweighed her resentment. If she had used Shiratori as a legitimate hostage, the situation would have gone overwhelmingly in Tokita's favor. So, why? Why is this sensation so alien to me, when everyone around me seems to have something warm in them? That's because your soul is as black as the dirt on the bottom of your shoes.
Sarai.
I kid, of course. That'd probably describe Devilman, if I'm being honest. Gonzo commanded his pack to pray. Just as I was about to flinch away from the spectacle, as I did every time I bore witness to Gonzo's cruelty, I heard pitiful sobs echo through the warehouse. Of all the begging I've heard from before Gonzo, this was the most meaningless, powerless plea. What a foolish girl, Yuki thought.
姉さんは悪くないんです。
Yuki's heart, already unable to fulfill its revenge, allowed the world to slip away entirely as it fell into despair at this new development.
何も悪くないんです。
Mizuha was an idiot. It was no use. Yuki's experience told her this after a mere glance at his eye Gonzo. No matter how much she screams or cries, this giant's heart would remain steadfast.
許して。姉さんにひどいことしないで。
She must not fully comprehend the situation. Mizuha doesn't even know about the connection between Yuki and the Mau. She's merely throwing a tantrum. And good lord, why does she feel the need to make all this racket?
私がいけないんです。
After finally being pierced by Gonzo's gaze, Mizuha's lips stiffened in fear.
私が姉さんに話を持ちかけて。
How foolish. Who would believe such a story? And regardless, Azai Gonzo was uninterested in the hostage situation. Her claim was utterly unimportant.
魔王、私が知ってます。姉さんは関係ないんです。
ほう。
Trembling in fear before Gonzo's deep voice, Mizuha awkwardly spun her words together. Don't do this. You don't know the monster you're dealing with.
だから、姉さんを許してください。
Tears fell onto her scarf. The situation was almost aggravating. All she had to do was keep quiet. At this rate, Mizuha would be put to their Yakuza torture as well. Why is she always so much trouble? Yuki stared at Mizuha's scarf as she spoke to Gonzo.
まさかその子の話を信じるわけじゃないでしょ。
Gonzo glanced at Yuki. His eyes were chilling enough to freeze Yuki's reason as she tried to read him. Had Mizuha really just lied straight into these eyes?
本当です。
Mizuha cried out again.
話にならないわ、水葉。黙りなさい。やだよ。殺されるわよ。
Why? Mizuha's behavior bewildered Yuki. She wished Mizuha could understand her feelings. The last thing Yuki wanted was to drag her poor sister down with her. Yet more tears flew across Mizuha's pale cheeks, eventually coming to rest on her scarf.
Oi.
Azai Gonzo finally opened his mouth. The anger in his lips implied that he would not waste time with this farce.
あれはなんだ?
He asked as he pointed at Mizuha.
さあ。
All Yuki could do was smile, though her lips twitched in terror.
あれはお前の妹か。だったらわかるな。
The pack of beasts understood their leader well enough and drew near to Mizuha. She had to deny it. But what good would denying it do? It was too late now. Mizuha's eyes flooded with tears. Her scream tore through the claustrophobic air of the warehouse, slicing apart the tension in the room.
姉さんは今までずっと大変だったの。もう許してあげて。大変だったんだから。
Mizuha's vocabulary suffered for her desperation. Her plea wasn't convincing in the least. However, despite being too weak to save Yuki, those words did manage to shake her heart. The scarf she had given Mizuha so long ago was now drowning in her endless tears.
そう。妹。
Her voice was faint, damp.
よく見てよ。
水葉はいつでも姉さんの味方だよって。
そっくりじゃない。
Yuki pointed at her sister, who looked almost nothing like her. Then she realized what she had just done. What was she saying? What a stupid pair of sisters. She had to deny it. Now think. How can you persuade that stupid sister of yours? Think. Don't involve your sister in this. Hell doesn't need both of us. Speak, damn it! Where are those words you were supposedly so good with? Make use of what you sold your soul to the devil to learn. Her voice wouldn't come out. No matter how much she tried, it wouldn't come out. What I did then must have come as a huge surprise to Azai Gonzo. It even surprised me. Finally found your balls? Nobody move! I grabbed Gonzo's huge shoulders from behind. My other hand held Tokida's nail. Oh, you definitely did!
気でも触れたか、京介。
Yeah, I guess I have. Usami, take Tokita and Shiratori and run! What am I doing? Well, everyone get out of their fucking way! Do you guys want Gonzo to die? Why am I doing this? His lips curved into a smirk. It bore all the confidence of a wild animal before devouring its prey. My body had merely moved before my mind could comprehend fear.
Hazai-san!
Just get out of here! Usami seemed to grasp the situation. Dilly-dallying around here would be truly idiotic. She quickly pulled Tokita by the arm.
面白い。俺は完全に油断していたぞ、京介。何があった？
I don't know. I couldn't answer. My classmates' faces just came to mind. Tsubaki, Kanan, Shiratori, Tokita. The tears rolling down their cheeks had spurred me on somehow.
Hazai-san, すみません!
It's okay. I'm sure losing a finger or two won't be that bad. Usami quickly helped Shiratori up from the ground and hurried for the door. Tokita and Shiratori followed Usami in a daze, as if they had lost all will of their own. I said get out of their way! I'll kill him! Usami and the rest made their way to the exit. Like a boulder tearing apart rapids, the crowd of people split as they pushed through. Gonzo didn't move an inch. Shortly thereafter, I heard the roaring sound of a car engine outside. They must have taken the car I prepared for Tokita. The tires grazed along, and they left.
Oi.
I was then literally attacked by bottomless despair.
俺はお前に驚いている。
Well, I am too.
俺を上回る恐怖に出会わねば裏切らぬと思っていた。
That's what I thought too.
お前は俺にへつらうだけの家畜ではなかったのか。
My hand shook uncontrollably.
俺に拾われ母を捨て金の奴隷になったのではなかったのか。
It was too late to make excuses. I didn't even understand what I did. Explaining my actions would be out of the question.
で、どうするのだ、京介。
You're testing me, aren't you? What will I do? He's asking about the future. What future does someone who bore his fangs at Gonzo have?
お前は金を貯めて母を迎えるつもりだった。
I timidly nodded.
そんなお前にとって残念な知らせが先ほど届いた。
Don't you dare tell me she's dead. What?
死んだぞ。
Fuck you! What did I just say? I dropped the nail, and it bounced off the ground with a clang.
母親だ。
My vision was instantly dyed black.
跳ねられたらしい。
My knees threatened to collapse beneath me.
飲酒運転の車に。
Jesus Christ, what an undignified way to go. Though entirely numb, I somehow felt my body melt into the solid floor. There were no traces of a lie in Gonzo's eyes. No. I burst into an eardrum-shattering scream. I looked to the ceiling for a moment before my eyes rolled back, my lungs all the while fighting to force out this blood-curdling despair. Well, golly fucking gee! Everything that this guy has suffered for, all the way up until now, ever since leaving his mother behind, all for nothing! Now she's dead, run over by a fucking drunk driver of all things. Like, holy fucking shit. It's like it's like some divine power decided to take a freaking dump on Kyousuke. Or is it a devil in this case? But, well, then, no, it wouldn't be. Well, now thinking about it now, I wonder how Devilman's gonna take this news. Not well, I imagine. Oh, man. Oh, man. It's not funny. It is not funny at all. But I just can't help but laugh because I don't know how else I'm supposed to react, because how absurd. And tragic, but especially absurd. I almost want to go over and just pat the and just give the guy a hug of sympathy, but I don't think it'd go well. Kyousuke, I mean. Just, oh man. You know what? I'm just gonna start the next chapter because I really don't. Words are failing me right now. I guess we'll just let the narration just do all the speaking for me. My dearest son, I want to speak with you in person. His father wrote before the first trial. I'm not going to be able to avoid the death penalty. Thus, I don't rightly care if you take this letter as the rambling excuses of a murderer. I just want to detail the honest truth about the events leading up to my killing of Usami-san. What? I was born and raised in a fishing village in Hokkaido, the third son in my family. The third son in my... Oh, I just reread that line. I moved to Tokyo to pursue higher education, and after graduating from college, I somehow managed to snag a position in the world-famous Sano Corporation. My days in their accounting division were hectic. An extraordinary volume of goods passes through the hands of a huge company like Sano each day. They were purchased overseas, imported, manufactured, transported, distributed. And the debits and credits associated with each step required a monstrous effort and nerve-wracking perseverance to keep straight. One day, as I was intensively double-checking our service and purchase costs in preparation for the end of the current billing period, I collapsed from exhaustion. I suppose things finally caught up to me. Nevertheless, it was a happy occasion, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. For that was the day I met your mother, who was working as a nurse at a nearby hospital. I soon found myself making up excuses to my boss, just so I could sneak out to visit her there. You boys have always known your mother as a cheerful woman whose cooking could satisfy royalty, but at work she was a bit shy and had a hard time holding conversation. Hold up! Boys? With an S? Who's the other boy? She wasn't very good with people, and trying to socialize with her colleagues wore on her nerves. She later told me that her nursing work aggravated her anxiety so much that she began to take tranquilizers. But as you know, your old man was straightforward, persuasive, and a frivolous joker. I guess I shouldn't be surprised when my son Kyousuke gets described in the same way, huh? I asked her to marry me barely 1 month after meeting her. I rushed things along because I knew how things worked in trading companies. One never stays in one place for too long. Anyway, I took her to an amusement park and then gave her the ring at a hotel restaurant that evening. Luckily for me, your mother was also interested in me. Her beautiful white skin turned bright red, and I remember she nearly fell out of her chair in surprise. I went to visit her parents the very next day, and before we knew it, we were married. Supposedly, the people at the ceremony called me a wife stealer. Soon after, as I predicted, I was transferred to Germany. Your mother came along without a single complaint. We had our first child there in Europe, far away from our homeland. That child was you, of course. Then who's the second? Apparently it was a difficult delivery. You came out legs first. Your old man wept at the sound of your first cry. It was completely out of character. We lived in Germany until you were 3 years old. You were a playful little boy. Your first words were amusement park. I don't know why I find that funny, but I kind of do. Germany had nothing but those mobile carnivals, so when we returned to Japan, I made sure to take you to a full-fledged theme park. I want to play every day, forever. I was quite worried for your future when you said those words. Why would you be? He's just a kid. All kids want to play forever. But much to my relief, you turned out to be a genius. They called me to your elementary school once after you'd taken an IQ test, and all your mother could say later was that a duck like me had raised up a swan. It's quite the compliment. For a long time, as you know, our family enjoyed peaceful days. My mousy wife, who suddenly became a lioness, went home with her boys, my 2 sons, frivolous Kyousuke and cold, passionate Kyohei. The 4 of us lived happily. Hey, did you ever notice this tidbit? Though it seems like I had gone overseas on business day. Though it seemed I was gone overseas on business most of the time, I was always home for Bon, New Year's, and your birthday. Now that I think about it, those were the happiest days of my life. So when was it that I met Usami Yoshinori? Usami-san was a capable man, working as a sales manager at a construction firm under the Sano Corporation umbrella. You've heard of the Tomobetsu City Outer Underground Discharge Channel, right? It's being constructed under the city as a drainage route for rainwater. If it ever gets completed, they say it'll be 50 meters deep, in one of the largest underground open spaces in the world. The first time I met Usami-san, he boasted about how he had plucked the privilege of building the outer underground discharge channel from the whole country. He held his head high like a samurai and talked in a dignified manner. I met the man when I was transferred to that huge, nationally recognized project. I say that the first time I met him, but I suppose that's a lie. I first encountered him back in my school days, through an activist group we both attended. Activism was all the rage back in those days. It may sound hard to believe now, but I was bad news back then. I took over an authoritative position in the activist group from the neighboring town. This position allowed me to manage their funds. It was some fairly risky business. And to this very day, I still had police coming to my door from time to time. Usami-san and I had a riot discussing old times. For example, there was a time we barricaded ourselves in one of the school buildings. But as we looked back on everything, both Usami-san and I realized that we hadn't done what we did out of any productive ideals or anything. There was merely something wrong with us. At least, that's the conclusion we both reached as we sat around drinking together. After about 2 weeks, we had gone close enough that Usami-san invited me over to his house. Much to my surprise, it wasn't a house at all. It was a small apartment that seemed to be at least 20 years old. I suppose I expected him to live more luxuriously, seeing as he had such a distinguished career. I do have quite a bit of savings, but I don't come home very often. He laughed as he said that. I found that rather strange. I had heard he had a wife and daughter. However, I understood when he told me his wife's name. I was astonished, and I must admit, even a bit jealous. His wife was Mishima Kawaru, a famous violinist. He said he had waited to tell me so that it would come as a bigger surprise. I'm reading all kinds of non-existent words today. He'd always had the nature of an entertainer, and enjoyed his dramatics more than most. I'm sure I've told you before, but I'm a huge fan of Mishima-san. Her world tours brought her performances to audiences across the globe, from Moscow to New York. She must have been incredibly busy. It's only natural she wouldn't have the time to go home. It made me feel incredibly sorry for their daughter, Haru. Her father was as wildly successful as her mother, and between all the transfers and travel, the poor girl must have been left behind more often than not. I doubt she received the love and attention she needed to develop as a child should. The general consensus about little Haru-chan was that she was a strange kid, and sure enough, when I knocked on the door to her room that fateful first visit, she didn't respond at all. No greeting, no acknowledgement. Only the sound of a violin betrayed her presence within. "This song is for you," she eventually said, and began playing Air on the G string. Apparently, she was rather like you. She was born in Germany and had to learn to play the violin from the age of 5. She had her mother's talent, and the girl's rendition was truly beautiful. At that point, you could say Usami-san and I were friends. Nevertheless, Haru-chan kept to herself all the time. It made me want to bring her home to meet you and your brother. God knows the girl had probably never been to a proper family gathering. However, I was never given the chance. The more I was with Usami-san, the more he invited me to play mahjong. One day, as he was kicking my ass at the game, Usami-san cheerily told me about his family situation. That he was the fourth son in a family of bureaucrats, and that despite having the brains and connections to be a politician, he continued to work at his current company. It was only when he began to insult his father, who was a famous member of the cabinet, and his brothers that I realized something was not quite right. And I assure you, it wasn't a side effect of my many losses at mahjong. I later found out that his family had disowned him. But he certainly wasn't a worthless man. He was a good leader to his subordinates on the Underground Channel project, and he took initiative when negotiating with subcontractors. He practically became a corporate legend after heading alone into the director of senior management's office, a man named Somiya, with a bottle of whiskey to propose an increase in the project's budget. Usami was a man of both humor and wit, and to be quite honest, it's not surprising that he was able to win over Mishima Kawaru. "Samejima-san, I've got a favor to ask," he said in his usual dramatic tone one night, after we finished a dinner meeting at a high-class restaurant in downtown Tokyo. "I believe you'll find it to be quite a tempting offer." He said he wanted to start his own business in the near future. Not one under the Sano Corporation umbrella, but his very own company. "You're the first person I've mentioned this to," he said, as passionately as a child. He had a tendency to boast about his plans, but his talent was recognized both within the company and around Japan's business world. I was sure he'd be a success, and I told him I was rooting for him. "I want you to be my partner." I'd half suspected the conversation was headed in that direction, but he openly invited me to join his new company. He respectfully bowed to me and offered to make me a manager if I invested some money in the company. Let me guess. You did just that. He bamboozled you, you got angry, and in a blind rage you killed him? I felt bad about it, but I rejected his offer. Never mind. I didn't have any ambition. I was happy with my current job, and most of all, if I had time to start a business, I'd rather spend it with you and the rest of our family. I'm sad to hear that, Usami-san said. I'm sorry. I've got a baby girl on the way, you see. Really now? Congratulations. You've always said you wanted a girl. Have you decided on a name yet? The child I named Kiyomi was born with a genetic heart disease, as you two already know. So I had a sister. It was the first baby girl in our home, which had until then been blessed only with boys. My excitement was probably enough to make you two jealous. And she was a handful, wasn't she? We had to take her to the hospital twice a week, and your mother nearly collapsed from anemia. And when your mother was feeling too ill to change your noisy little sister's diapers, you diligently volunteered to do it yourself. You were such a kind-hearted boy. Nevertheless, Kiyomi died. She was only 15 months old. She passed on a peaceful day, one heavy with the traces of the coming spring. Your mother said she looked like she was sleeping. Do you remember the quiet funeral, son? It was only the four of us, yet you didn't shed a single tear. For what reason was she born? You shouted up at the clear winter sky. You were just a boy, but life had already driven you to curse God. A week or so after Kiyomi died, Usami-san came to me with 3 of his subordinates. They were clad in mourning clothes and suddenly bowed to me. I'm very sorry for your loss, he said, choking back tears. Usami-san raised his head and didn't try to hide the overflowing tears pouring from his red eyes. He was crying for Kiyomi, I thought, naively moved. After all, he had given clothes to my baby girl when she was born. I completely dropped my guard around Usami-san. He made time to take me to an expensive restaurant in Ginza once. The wife stole off to Berlin and took Haru with her. I'm pretty lonely myself, he said, and I completely believed that the man smiling bashfully before me was a true friend. So I sense a betrayal coming. How much do you need? What do you mean? You talked to me about investing before, remember? You need funds to start your own business. If you want my help, it's yours. Oh, don't be silly. I can't do that, Samejima-san. You got a family to take care of. You can't have the time to be answering to my whims. You're right. I'm sorry, but I can't leave my current job to go with you. Still, I'd like to lend you something as a token of my gratitude. I had put aside 5 million yen for Kiyomi's medical bills. So at the time, I figured it wouldn't do any harm to invest that in a friend who cared about Kiyomi enough to shed tears. I had already saved enough money to put 2 boys through schooling, and my high-paying job at a top-class company. I had also probably forgotten the value of 5 million yen. Thank you very much. I'll repay this debt many times over. Something tells me you're not going to do that. Thinking back on it now, I realized that Kiyomi's death had clouded my judgment. I made a few small blunders at work and occasionally took out my frustration on your mother. So, after offering a stick of incense to Kiyomi's portrait, I signed Usami-san's investment contracts. My signature was only needed on one of the 2 papers. We had the contracts notarized the next day. It's only now that I question why I need to sign something in order to invest in his company. Good observation. I lamented this oversight so many times since that day. Why did I not read the 2 papers? That's the thing with these contracts, you gotta read them. Just to make doubly sure you know just what you're getting into. How could an accountant at Sano Corporation fall for such a simple ploy? I will be asked these questions at my trial, I'm sure of it. They will grind this point into the dust, doubting my sensibility, my common sense, and even my sanity. Forgive your foolish dad. After that day, Usami-san almost never met with me for a meal. I brushed it off, thinking he was just busy between building the outer underground discharge channel and setting up his own business. But then one weekend, when we were preparing to go on a family camping trip, a huge man in a jet black suit and blood-red shirt showed up on our doorstep. Gonzo? I met a few radicals during my stint in student activism. They all had uncanny facial expressions, and their eyes glistened with their deviant ideals. Not a one of those twisted men had half the overwhelming atmosphere of this bestial man. 50 million in all. He spoke in a tone that said he wouldn't take no for an answer, and I trembled in fear. It wasn't hard to recognize the giant as a Yakuza debt collector. He held up. Gonzo's not a debt collector. He's the head honcho. He held a promissory note up to my face. I couldn't believe it. I had apparently at some point become the guarantor of someone named Kato Takayuki. I knew the name. He was one of Usami-san's subordinates, and I played mahjong with him a few times. So he basically made you take on his subordinate's debt. That fucking asshole. I had no idea what was what, and I asked him to leave. He obeyed me that day. However, his frozen eyes told me that next time, he wouldn't be so lenient. I can still see the worry in your mother's eyes that afternoon. I was taken aback when I looked at the promissory note. The loan had a principal of 5 million yen, but an unbelievable amount of interest had accrued. As the man had said, 50 million yen in all. Promissory note in hand, I drove over to Usami's apartment. Mishima-san and Haru-chan weren't there. In their places were the 3 men, including Kato Takayuki, and Usami-san, playing mahjong without a care in the world. I never intended to trick you, Samija-san. Lies! I said I'd invest 5 million in you. I didn't say I'd shoulder your 50 million yen in debts. But you did sign the promissory note, did you not? Usami-san's acting was stellar. He tilted his head, as if to say I was acting strange. If at this point I realized the trick Usami-san used on the promissory note, I wouldn't have had to resort to murder. I'm still not quite sure as to what happened, but Usami-san had somehow hidden something within those 2 contracts that exploded into my 50 million yen debt to the devil. Anyway, 50 million. You can pay it for my subordinate Kato, yes? It's not like it's an unpayable sum for someone in a top-rate firm like yourself, his arrogant chin seemed to say. Isn't this a crime, Usami-san? Don't be so silly. Where's the proof of that? Just because you don't have proof a crime was committed doesn't mean a crime wasn't committed. This is fraud. I'll report you to the police. That's fine with me. If you do that, I'll just go ahead and report all of your recent screw-ups to Somaya back at headquarters. At this point, there wasn't a single employee at the company who was not aware of the close friendship between Usami-san and Director Somaya. I myself had heard rumors about employees being fired the day after doing no more than glaring at Usami-san. And as foolish as I was, I believed them. But if I were indeed a criminal, Samija-san, I'd be in good company. Remember when we entertained that fellow from the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport at that restaurant in Akasaka? Along with his female companion? I'd say that was a fine example of excessive reception. Now, remind me again who headed up that little event? Deftly rolling a mahjong tile in his fingers, he spoke up triumphantly. You were sure enjoying yourself that night, he continued, prompting one of his subordinates to laugh. You were drooling all over that woman, despite being a married man. The laugh spread through the room. The talk about starting your own business was a lie, then? I asked in desperation. No, it was true. But it's something I'll put more thought into later. At the moment, I'm devoted to finishing the outer underground discharge channel. I can see why your family disowned you. I thought of Kiyomi, who died without living even a fraction of a full life. Those tears were fake too, weren't they? I will curse Usami's false sobs even from the very platform of the gallows. Could you please leave? I have a winning hand here. I spoke with the corporate lawyer at Sano about how a friend had defrauded me, but in the end, he said I had no choice but to pay up. Even after taking out all my savings, I still couldn't reach 50 million. I'm not much of an extravagant spender, but your sickly mother's medical expenses and Kiyomi's operation bills weren't cheap, and they really took a toll on our family finances. Sucking up to my parents, being scorned by my relatives' cold eyes, I planted a dark emotion in my very soul. Why am I in this situation? I bawled my anger at the unfair circumstances as I prostrated myself daily before a collector by the name of Azai Gonzo. I paid off 20 million now. Usami-san, please take care of the rest. I guess he was a good debt collector. I confronted Usami-san in broad daylight as he gave a presentation at the company. Usami, surrounded by corporate executives, wasn't fazed in the slightest. Could you pick a better place for this? Why should I cover for your debts? The cheek! I lost myself in anger, and the next thing I remember, I was grabbing him by the collar. That, naturally, was exactly what he planned for me to do. No one in the company would listen to me after that act of violence. All that awaited me was a week-long suspension and a cut in my salary. With nothing else to do but cry myself to sleep, I returned home and knelt in front of Kiyomi's portrait every day. I trembled in anger, day in, day out. Anger toward Usami, anger toward my foolishness. My nerves were so on edge, I had begun to believe that Usami killed Kiyomi himself. My lawyer says that my unsound mind at the time would help in an insanity plea. Months passed, and I still had no means with which to repay the debt. Meanwhile, Usami's effort finally paid off, and he was promoted to senior executive manager. He headed the outer underground discharge channel project, which boasts being the largest underground structure ever built. In front of that, my existence must have been trivial to him. Well, son, should I have forgiven this man? No. But I probably wouldn't have gone as far as to kill him, personally. I feel bad for you three, my family. But Usami cried fake tears at Kiyomi's death and laughed inside his heart. You cried out to the heavens at how unfair Kiyomi's death was. For what reason was she born, you said? Was Kiyomi born into this world to be used by Usami? Of course not, right? Just before I committed the act, I was called out by Usami. Usami, ever the man of pleasure, was addicted to gambling on illegal horse races. At first glance, the place looked like a regular coffee shop. But the kind of people who gathered there weren't there to drink coffee. They were all dressed too shabbily to be the typically posh clientele of such a place. They all stared at the television screen, watching the races with an excited air about them. "Keep this a secret from my wife and daughter," he said cheerfully, and as I lost for words, "How about you take a sandpaper-covered dildo and sit on it? Looks like you're having some money troubles." "Whose fault do you think that is?" I wanted to shout. "Do you know about the Soniyama Group?" It was a Yakuza organization operating out of Tomibetsu City. If you work in construction for a while, you can get connections with these kinds of people. You're as overdramatic as ever. What are you talking about? I have a favor to ask you. To make the story short, he wanted to embezzle from Sano. The balls on this man! And he wanted the cooperation of the lead accountant. Me. Once again, I would tell him to stick it where the sun doesn't shine. Fuck him. He said he could give the Yakuza a cut as well. How about it? If you accept my offer, I might ask them to ease up on collecting your debt. A cruel smile formed upon his thin lips. It was only then that I truly understood the events of the past few months. This man had been trying to trick me from the very start. Getting my signature on that accursed contract was only the beginning. Usami-san, do you have no concept of decency? Usami just laughed out his nose. Samijima Toshikatsu. Your name itself is a testament to your destiny to lose at everything you do. Toshikatsu is victory spelled backwards. Defeat. In Samijima, that admiral who lost Japan in the war, no one would heed morality lessons preached by such a profound loser. We're not in college anymore. As an adult, I'm questioning whether you have any sort of moral values. You aren't fighting a war, you're just bullying the weak. You have a daughter too, don't you? How would you feel if what happened to my daughter happened to Haru? You say it like I killed Kiyomi-chan or something. How cruel. My subordinates and I even went to the trouble of going to pay our respects. That must have been the moment where my passing fancies of killing him became more than just fancies. In any case, didn't you and your wife consider your age? It's common knowledge that having children at an old age carries danger with it. Usami was clever. His mind had tapped somehow into the powers of hell. He really hit me where it hurts. My sin. When the doctors told me about the abnormality in Kiyomi's heart, I was plagued with guilt. The only child I've made is Haru. Unlike your children, Haru is a brilliant daughter. She has my genes, after all. Spoken like a true narcissist. Jesus Christ. You think she's just nothing but an extension of you. So she's a demon spawn? No, she's an angel. Naturally. What father would think otherwise about his child? I know that Haru, her tiny violin, wasn't at fault for anything. But hatred burned in my heart, and I felt the only way to strike at this beast in human clothes would be to kill his daughter. Air on the G-string danced in my head. Men's minds are strange things, as they correlate sensations like music to memories and emotions. Thus, Air on the G-string became the soundtrack to my revenge against Usami. Son, what will your mind's eye paint in your heart when you listen to Air on the G-string? Well, we got a lot to unpack here, don't we? No idea if this flashback's actually over just yet, but, well, assuming it is. So, some key details that stood out to me from that whole letter. Number one, first and foremost, Kyousuke has a brother and had a sister. Kyohei was his name, I think. I don't remember ever seeing him in any of Kyousuke's flashbacks to his childhood before being taken in by Gonzo. So, here's my question. What the hell happened to him? Why hasn't Kyousuke ever mentioned this guy? And second, Usami's father is one hell of an asshole. The apple fell very freaking far from the tree in Haru's case. In which case, well, thank God for that. But still, holy shit. I mean, yeah. I want to say with absolute certainty that if I were in Kyousuke's father's position, I wouldn't be driven to such a point where I would kill the guy. But that's the thing. I'd never been in a position where I owed such a huge amount of debt to freaking debt collectors and Yakuza men, and basically got swindled by a guy who got swindled big time by a guy who at one point I would consider a close friend, and well, be faced with his complete and utter lack of remorse for it. So really, I won't really know for sure how I would act unless I was actually put in a situation like that, and I obviously hope I never am. I would try not to be dumb enough here to get myself into a situation like that, but still, anyway. What I'm trying to say is, yeah, after hearing all that, I can definitely understand why he did it. Why he decided to cave Mr. Usami's face in, or however exactly he killed him. I can't really fault him too much. The guy was just beyond cruel. Still, though, it also pretty much does a pretty accurate job explaining how Kyousuke, his mom, and whatever the hell happened to Kyohei, how they all wound up in poverty. And then there's the third thing that stuck out to me as I was reading all that. So through their parents' relationship with one another, it looks like Haru and Kyousuke indeed have a connection. Fate is mysterious. And then I guess there's also the fact that apparently at one point, Azai was just a grunt debt collector. But I guess in the Yakuza organization, we all got to start somewhere, right? But yeah, that was quite the interesting and useful exposition dump. Let's continue. It's hard to believe this magical scenery was made by the hands of man. Is this the underground project? The Tomenbetsu City underground discharge channel. It's almost called the underground shrine. A giant superpressure cistern. It collects the rainwater that drains into it through an underground tunnel network, then opens up into a nearby river. Water is the source of life, but can sometimes cause terrible disasters. It was fear, the fear of flooding, that brought the people who constructed this together. They pooled their intelligence to make this disaster prevention facility. It was also Usami Yoshinori's lifelong desire. Father, soon, I swear, soon I too will hear air. The G string of a celestial violin will be passed from one generation to the next. Is this Usami? I'll save you, Father. Soon. I went to the police forensics lab. It was a tiny, cramped room. One corpse lay strewn about. The glossy white sheet stood out among the dull, dim darkness. Yes, it was definitely my mother. I somehow managed to squeak that the thing before me, with the strangely disfigured head and body, was indeed Mom. The policeman sighed, then said, "Now we can finally do an autopsy." My beautiful mother. The woman who hugged me tightly as I shook from the cold. The woman who gave her body and soul to protect me from that monstrous man. Her head was caved in. Yet it was definitely Mom. Despite recuperating at home after a diagnosis of severe clinical depression, she apparently suddenly gathered her things and dashed outside at 7 p.m. the day of the accident. They found a plane ticket to Tokyo's Haneda Airport on her person. It seemed she planned to take the red-eye to Tokyo. The accident occurred as she tried to get on the bus to the airport and cross the intersection. Were you coming to see Kyousuke? Apparently, the crosswalk light was green. Nevertheless, a car smashed into her at 75 miles per hour. The driver, a young man, tried to get away, but a nearby patrol car chased and ultimately apprehended him. A quick inspection revealed that he had been drinking. I wonder how Usami and Tokita fared in their own escape. What punishment awaits me now that I betrayed Gonzo? I just don't care anymore. One of the items found among my mother's belongings was a handmade scarf. She came to deliver me a scarf. I clutched it tightly as I stare at the floor in my dark, lonely room. Someone, please just answer one question. What sin did my mother commit to lead to her death? She had planned to come surprise me with a visit. I should have gone to Sapporo to pick her up. Years ago. I should have gone to live with her, even if it meant leaving Gonzo's side. Yet I continued to follow Gonzo, determined to make a name for myself in the underworld. What a childish dream. Wasn't my goal all along to take care of my ailing mother? I treated it as my one and only shining, albeit tiny, hope. Poor Mom. Her husband was a murderer. She was so deep in debt that she fell mentally ill. And to top it all off, she died an unfair, untimely death by vehicular manslaughter. Where's the justice in this goddamned world? Angels do not exist. How could they? If they did, I would have a firmer grip on my sanity. I wouldn't be grasping at my burning hatred to protect my humanity. The only things keeping me from losing my mind are the finely detailed visions of myself killing the driver who murdered my mother. I understand how you feel, but it's not going to help anything. Your mother wouldn't want you to become a murderer too, Kyousuke. A headache tears at my skull, but right now, I almost feel blessed with this pain, this pleasure, this punishment, this retribution from God upon a pathetic boy who couldn't save his mother. I vaguely see a light at the end of the tunnel. I might be able to reach it if I lend myself to this headache. I couldn't hold back my laughter. I felt refreshed, as if the seeds I had planted that failed to sprout had actually only waited for the opportune moment and were now reaching for the sun. Mau, huh? I think back on all the incomprehensible events of this past winter. The ransom stolen from Tsubaki's family. The attempt on Azai Gonzo's life via car bombing. Thinking about it now, there was something I didn't like about Tsubaki. And it was Gonzo that kept me from seeing my mother. I had plenty enough motives. And zero alibis, actually. All the action occurred while I wasn't feeling well. My memory of those events is too hazy to interpret. Oh yes, and let's not forget Dr. Akimoto's enthusiastic romantic diagnosis. Z's. The suspicious looks from Usami and Gonzo. I thought it was impossible before, but now I want to believe it. No, I'm ready to believe it. After all, what is truly impossible? Surely it was impossible for my mother to be killed in an accident. Preposterous things happen every goddamn day. So, maybe I really am Mau. The echo of the intercom's chime suddenly rings throughout the room. I thought I was one of Gonzo's cronies, but it was an unexpected person. Is that you, Haru? Called it. It was Usami, still on the run from the Sowa Alliance. You don't think that they would be keeping an eye on Kyousuke's place in case they come looking, in case you decide to come over here? This feels really foolish. You showing up here right now. I let Usami in. She was aghast at the change in me. After all, I haven't bathed in several days. This isn't exactly the best place to hide from the Yakuza.
はい、それは分かっているんですが。
But what? My heart throbs in pain. I had always held a certain suspicion toward Usami. It was related to the events surrounding my biological father. Events I never cared to talk about.
ニュースで事故のことを聞きまして。
So you've heard, huh? And you came to check on him? What do you care if my mother is dead?
それは。
She mumbled. She seems to be pitying me. I decided to ask on a whim. Are you Usami Yoshinori's daughter? She stopped breathing. I see. I almost wanted to laugh. That's why you've been following me around all this time. Did you want to apologize in your father's stead? Or did you come to avenge his murder? Usami's sobs drizzled out into the room, and their echoes diffused through the darkness. It was unpleasant. Why are you crying?
すみません。
Disgusting to the bitter end.
すみません。すみません。
Shut up. But Usami didn't even try to wipe her tears.
お母さんが亡くなられたと聞いて、いても立ってもいられなくなって。
What?
今、ユキと水葉はユキの自宅にいます。警察の感謝です。そこなら、ゴンゾーさんの手のものも寄りつけないと思いまして。
Well, I guess staying at the house of a policeman is as good a protection as one can get in this situation. I see. It sounds like a reasonable enough plan. I guess that's why Gonzo hasn't made his move yet. But that still doesn't explain why you're here.
ですから、浅井さんに会いたくなって。
You wanted to see me. Why would you want to see a murderer's son? Usami's always been a strange woman. I hear the sound of ruffling clothing. The victim's daughter suddenly started taking her clothes off. Is this a sex for solace situation we got going on here?
私でよければ。
Oh? The beast's daughter is a prostitute.
好きです。
It felt like someone had squeezed my heart.
ずっと好きだったよ。
That was the worst confession ever. Hilarious. What was happening in my room was far from an expression of pure love. It was little more than an insult. An insult that defiled me and disgraced her. It was only right that she shook all over. You've always loved me, you say? I have half a mind to kill you on the spot. You know that? There's no way we could ever be together! Do you even know what your father did to mine? Huh? Say it!
でもそれは私たちには関係ないはず。
Yeah, sure. Logically, you're right. If I were a fucking machine, then we could do whatever you want. But how do you expect me to fucking look you in the eye and accept you while I think about the humiliation my father went through?
私はそれでもあなたが。
Usami looked like she was about to fall to her knees, crying. Nevertheless, she diligently held her reddened eyes fixed on me. She seemed to be devoting her all to this confrontation.
好きです。ダメだ忘れようって思ってもずっと好きでした。
Did we know each other as kids? Directly? Wait. Yes, of course we would, because our fathers knew each other. That would explain that mystery, but wait a minute. If that's the case, then why didn't you ever mention anything like this, even in internal dialogue up until this point? Not so much as even a hint. I don't remember ever hearing you at any point prior to this mentioning Usami. Wait. Maybe you mentioned like once or twice a sense of familiarity with her. Still, if that's all it was, how incredibly vague. I can see that her feelings are true.
許してください。どうかあなたを好きでいても。
The woman in front of me was a Neoseki I did not know. A woman hopelessly in love.
初めて会った10年前から私はあなただけを思ってあなただけが忘れられなくて。
10 years ago? I think back. I see a hazy scene, one I don't remember very well. It came as a flash, tearing through the darkness of my memory like a faint twinkle of lightning. But it left as quickly as it came, and the abyss of hatred was quick to cover my world once again. I see. So you came to comfort me?
すみません。浅井さんは同情なんて大嫌いだと思いましたが、それでも何か力になれればと。
Because?
はい。好きだからです。
Pushy. Pretty damn unsightly, if you ask me. In what way is this girl a hero? She's a goddamn demon spawn. Alright. Take your clothes off.
はい。
The hands on her panties were clearly shaking. My penis was extraordinarily hard. The hate boner is strong here, but in all due seriousness, this seems wildly inappropriate given the circumstances. Not for lust after Usami's luscious body. Oh really? I thought that you thought she was nothing but disgusting. How many times have you called her disgusting throughout this whole story? For lust after violating the only child of the monster who ripped apart my family and drove my father to murder. What an incredibly tempting offer. It should be plenty to wash away my father's humiliation. For some reason, tears pour from my eyes. Tears of blood gifted to me by my father, I tell myself. I consider the scene before me for a minute. I see a woman crying with her legs spread wildly, and a man shedding tears onto his erect penis. It was a painting of hell by the devil himself. It was at that moment that Usami muttered that name of all names. Get out of my sight, Usami! Her reaction was just to cry like a child. This is my very last sliver of goodwill towards you. Next time I see you, I'll do more than rape you. She trembled as she hurriedly dressed. I don't ever want to see your face again! Next time, I'll kill her without a second thought. I'm barely able to hold back my urge to torture her to death as it is. However, Usami said my dead sister's name. She said, Kiyomi-chan, I'm sorry, and truly put all her heart into the apology. Usami dashes off into the room's darkness, tumbles around a bit, and leaves in a run. Absolute silence reigns after her departure. My ears ring, and my heartache threatens to break my will. And right at this very moment, I can feel Mawu awakening inside of me. Now, what a refreshing morning. Exactly 1 week has passed since Tokita's hostage case. At the moment, I'm wondering what I should do now. I hear something at the door. The door opens. Several feet shod in expensive leather send sharp noises through the room. Why, hello there, Haribi-san. I casually greet the few Yakuza who've clearly come for my blood.
坊ちゃん、朝早くにすみませんね。
Oh no, don't worry about it. What business do you have with me? A cruel smile surfaced on Haribi's face.
親父があなたの首をご所望です。
Oh? He told you to kill me.
聞けば、坊ちゃんこそが魔王だったそうじゃないですか。
Do you agree with him?
おやおや、しらばっくれてもダメですよ。あのアイスアリーナの一件でほとんど黒だったんですから。
What do you mean?
坊ちゃんにはいくら電話しても繋がらなかったじゃないですか。
Oh, that. You know how crowded it was. There was nothing I could do. I was desperately trying to contact you too.
またやめてくださいよ。つい昨日のことですがね、山王物産の染谷っていうお偉方に親父が直に会いに行きましてね。
Uh-oh. Looks like I've been sold out. He spoke gleefully.
つい先日まで浅井という名の相談役を飼っていたそうなんです。若くて頭が切れてまるで坊ちゃんにそっくりだったそうですよ。
I grinned. Ah. Somaya-san, huh? The corner of Haribi's mouth twisted as well, as if responding to me.
認めるんですね。
Don't know. I don't remember. The next moment, I was staring down a gun barrel.
まるで顔つきが変わりましたね、坊ちゃん。それがあんたの本性ってわけですかい？
He pressed me for an answer. He intends to kill me on the spot.
詫びの一言でもあれば手前が受けたまわっておきますよ。
Apology?
坊ちゃんはお父さんに拾われてここまで慣れたんじゃないですか。
He's completely right. Thanks to Gonzo adopting me, my life has been hell.
さあ、何もありませんか？
How do I get out of this one? There are 3 other burly men here to back Haribi up. They've got the only door blocked off. Jumping out the window wouldn't be such a good idea. This is the 16th floor, which leaves...
何ですか、坊ちゃん。
nothing.
まさかアクション映画の主人公みたいにうちらに逆襲できるとでも思ってるんですか？
Of course not. Only a fool would use violence against professional employers of violence. Still, these are nothing more than Gonzo's dogs. Livestock. Slaves to money. I stare down Haribi as he points his gun at me. Did he come here dead set on killing me, or is there some room for negotiation? Does he really intend on pulling the trigger, or is it just a threat? Alright. Well, Haribi-san, let me ask you just one thing. Haribi narrows his eyes. Did father just order you to kill me?
ただ
While keeping my eyes on the barrel of the gun, I point to my safe. Contained within is the money I was saving to pay off my father's debt and provide for my mother's future. The small fortune is worth no more to me now than any old scraps of paper.
そうですね。中身の現生も回収させてもらいますよ。
As I expected, the slave to money took the bait. Oh, you will. That's rather troubling. There's over 50 million in there, you see.
じゃあ、それを開けてもらいましょうか。
Horibi waved the gun in the direction of the safe, as if he were sure of his victory. Very well. I walked to the safe, slowly dialed the combination, and opened the door. They must have been dazzled by the glow of the gold inside.
いやいや、坊ちゃんはなかなか交渉上手ですね。
Thank you. I turned around to face Horibi and his joyous smile. The man looked like a child about to torture a bug.
で、そいつでこの場を見逃してもらおうっていう腹でしょ。
Indeed. How about it?
ダメですわ。
Horibi's face closed in on me, his anger so intense that it made his blood vessels protrude from his head.
本当に憎たらしい小僧だな、おい。往生際が悪いんだよ、このガキ。
Looking up at him up close emphasizes how frightening the man really is. Did I really once command this bunch? I sighed to speak up and end this charade. I see. I wholeheartedly apologize for my rudeness. However, this is my win.
なんだと?
You made me open this safe at gunpoint. Do you understand what this means? If you had just shot and killed me earlier, it had been a simple murder. But killing me after making me open my safe is murder with intent to rob, whether you take the money or not. You got somebody with police connections watching this place right now, don't you? Horibi's clean-shaven eyebrows jumped up. Understood? You know what happens to people in your situation. A life sentence, or if you're unlucky, the death penalty. Horibi's glance slowly dropped to the ground. You're a genuine Yakuza, right, Horibi-san? Being put in jail for your murder for your boss's sake is no big deal, but if you dishonor yourself with the title of a thief, even if you get out of jail, there will be no place in the Soul Alliance for you. Now, think hard. Will you throw your life away for a kid like me? A calculating man like Horibi should know what to do.
こりゃ、一本取られましたね。
That he did. It had been a different situation if this were deep in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, and someone other than Horibi was pointing a gun at me. How about this? By the time you got here, I was already gone. Horibi clicked his tongue and put on his usual Yakuza smile.
わかりました。
I'm in your debt.
で、坊ちゃん。
The last thing he said was exactly what I'd expect of Horibi.
この5000のうち、いかほど包んでもらえるんですかね。
This will be the last time we meet. I received a call as I was out walking. Yo, Tsubaki, what's up?
なんか久しぶりだね。
Yeah, I feel great.
学園来ないのかな。
School, huh? No, that's nostalgic.
はるちゃんもみつはちゃんもゆきさんも来てなくて。
Oh? Maybe it's the cold weather getting to everybody.
何かあったの？
Who knows? I don't anyway. I've been busy with work. Or should I say play?
まあ、元気ならいいや。そのうち学園にも来てね。
I suppose that means the call is drawing to a close. Wait, Tsubaki.
どうしたの？
How's your family doing? Are you getting along all right?
うん、何の変わりもないよ。
I'm so sorry about that thing last year.
何が？浅井くんはよくしてくれたじゃない。
Never mind. Don't worry about it. Later. Tsubaki cheerfully said bye-bye before hanging up. One big happy family, huh? Having a family is enough happiness on its own. There's no need to complicate that. You can always make more money. Now, what to do? Alright. I should probably deal with Azai Gonzo. He should have just died from that car bomb. What? Oh, never mind, you were speaking past tense. Alright. Let's go kill him. But before that, there's still one thing that's bothering me. That memory. It's the only thing holding me back. Usami said she met me 10 years ago. Was that memory? Was it on the rooftop of the Sano Corporation's headquarters? Did I really meet Usami as a kid? I need to find out. Revenge can wait for now. I head for the Sano Corporation building. Well, I guess we're going to be going on the hunt for answers next time we come back to this. I'm going to go ahead and end things here. And just, yeah, I think with the way that everything is proceeding now, I think we're definitely on the road to the finale. And boy, is it shaping up to be a big one. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of The Devil on G-String. And if you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.